Hello and welcome back to the channel. While I was in South Korea recently, I made some observations about the beauty standards there and the culture around beauty products and fashion. And did a little bit of research, and it kind of got me thinking about the psychological reasons why we invest into our own physical appearances. So that will be the topic of today's video. South Koreans have the highest rate of cosmetic surgery procedures per capita compared to any other country in the world, and a lot of people from other countries go to South Korea to get certain cosmetic surgery procedures done. As with most other countries, the main market for cosmetic surgery is women, but unlike other countries, they have a very specific number of procedures that women get done in Korea. It's extremely common for women to get their nose bridge heightened to make it sort of more stand up against the face more, which is kind of interesting because that's the opposite of what white women do in America and in Europe. They also get their jawline sort of reduced, so it's more of a, they want like a V-shaped face. And the one that interested me the most is that they often have what's called double eyelid surgery or eye widening surgery, where they have surgery done to their top eyelid to make the eyes look rounder and wider. And you can even buy glue and tape that's specially designed for you to glue your eyelids open a little bit more to make your eyes look wider without surgery. I asked a young lady in South Korea about it, and she told me that a lot of middle school and high school students do this to their eyes because they're not old enough to get the surgery done, or they don't have the money to get the surgery done yet. Somehow this seemed different from the kinds of things that people in my own country, in Europe and probably America as well, the things that we do to make ourselves look pretty, or especially what women do, applying makeup and contouring. You can change the shape of your face and you can add colour and make your eyes look bigger by enhancing your eyelashes or your eyebrows or the skin around your eyes. But to actually change the shape of your eyelid to change your appearance it just kind of surprised me. To me, there doesn't seem to be anything intrinsically ugly or bad about having narrow eyes. I think it can look very pretty on a pretty face. I do wonder how much the widening of the eyes is kind of an emulation of the kind of Western look, which is sort of suggested by the heightening of the nose as well.
미국 여자들이 얼굴이 작다고 생각해요. 근데 제가 듣기로는 얼굴 작다 이게 미국에선 칭찬이 아니라고. 하지만 부럽죠.
미국 여자들 몸매는 약간 골격이 우리보단 일단 좀 크고
얼굴 작아 보이고 예쁜 것 같아요.
일단 글래머러스함이 차이가 있는 것 같고, 저는 금발이 되게 예쁜 것 같아요.
그분들 진짜 다리 여기 있고.
Obviously I can't know for sure, but it seems like perhaps the Korean beauty standards have been influenced by Western media and Hollywood and things to give Koreans the idea that they have to look whiter in order to be pretty, but I don't think that's the case at all in my personal preferences. When I was in South Korea, I watched a video by H3H3 that was released when I was there. The video was about how people edit their Instagram photos or their social media photos to look artificially better. So they'll use Photoshop, or they'll use some kind of trick of the light, or maybe just put on excessive makeup and use other sort of beauty enhancement techniques to make themselves look as good as possible just for their social media photos. And obviously it's a comedy video, it's not a serious analysis, but it did get me thinking about how perhaps the standards that we hold ourselves to are not attainable naturally. The images that we see in magazines are often enhanced, and even the pictures of our friends that we see on social media are not true representations of what those people look like, because they only choose to upload the very best photos, of course. And I know that's nothing new. This has been going on for a really long time, as long as there's been magazines, really. I guess the idea that Koreans idealised the look of white people just really bothered me, if that is the case. Certainly just based on the advertising and the actors that I saw on TV there, it seems that the people that they think of as very beautiful do seem to look more white than the average Korean that you see on the street, who's gotten much more of the kind of East Asian look to their faces, and I just think it's such a shame when there's so many girls in Korea who are very pretty, but if they don't have skin that's light enough or their eyes are too narrow, then they perhaps judge themselves very harshly for that. I watched some videos on YouTube to prepare for this video, just to see if there was any journalism on the subject of cosmetic surgery, and I saw some interviews with women who were about to have surgery, women who had had surgery in Korea. I mean, it's just like the women who get surgery in America or in Europe or in England. They're always the prettiest girls, and they hate something about themselves. Like you're looking at a really beautiful woman. She's got a nice body and beautiful hair and a beautiful face, and they've got the weird complex about having chubby cheeks or about having narrow eyes or having a square jawline, and it just seems completely unnecessary that someone who's so cute and pretty should care so much about something and agonize so much about a feature of their own face. And I know I've been talking mostly about women in this case, but the men of South Korea also have a slightly different relationship with fashion and beauty compared to other countries that I've been to. Something I noticed just going around on the streets was how kind of well dressed the young men were. They were all wearing what looked like quite expensive clothing, quite sort of stylish stuff. South Korea is also the number one country for selling male makeup. They sell more male makeup than any other country in the world. My initial reaction when observing all of this and thinking about making a video about it was to think that Korea had gone too far. That they're too obsessed with beauty, and I know that sounds perhaps too critical of another culture, but that's just the impression that I got. But if I were to try to be objective about it, I think I'm probably just making that judgment because I'm making a comparison to my own culture, my own country. So anything that deviates a lot from what I'm used to is going to appear quite strange to me. When I started to think about the women that I know and just the kind of culture that I observe around me, I think probably England is a little bit too obsessed with appearances as well. I think it's a kind of worldwide phenomenon. As when people get disposable wealth, disposable income, it seems that they like to spend at least some of it on improving superficial things about themselves and improving their appearance. I made a video last year describing my hypothesis for why women wear makeup other than to entice men, which is a theory that I see going around a lot online. In that video, I argued that I think women and men both have an intrinsic desire to improve their own appearance. Just every time they look in the mirror, they enjoy looking at themselves when they look better, and they feel negative emotions when they can perceive something about themselves they don't like. A lot of people wrote in the comments of that video that I was completely dismissing the cultural effects, but I just didn't discuss them. I wasn't trying to say that all of our beauty behaviour was completely innate. And of course, fashions change over time, and they change between cultures, even within the same kind of population of people. For instance, when I was a teenager, it was quite normal for women to pluck their eyebrows to be quite a lot thinner. But these days, women want thick eyebrows, and they often fill in their eyebrows with a pencil to make them look more severe, more thicker and fuller. And of course, the clothes that we wear change in the way we do our hair and all sorts of things. Just fashions have changed so much over just the last 200 years that it's really impossible to say that our perceptions of beauty aren't somewhat influenced by fashions and culture. But that impulse to compare ourselves to other people and to try to look better in comparison to them and to take in all of that cultural fashions and these cues that we get from the outside world to influence what we believe we should look like. It's an innate psychological urge that helps us to compete in the sexual market and the social market that helps us to survive and to propagate our genes. In that video, I compared that impulse to our impulse to eat calorie-dense foods like fats and sugars, delicious things like chocolate cake and desserts, things that, bacon, really fatty food that contains a lot of calories, because our our bodies want those calories to make sure that we can stay alive through what could be an upcoming famine, you know. And I think that just as we can overindulge that impulse and we can become obese and unhealthy, I think we can also overindulge this impulse to look better and to judge ourselves. But it's not as obvious when we indulge that impulse. It's not as obvious to other people, and it's probably not as obvious to ourselves either. I know from my own experience that when you start to indulge that urge to look at yourself in the mirror all the time and just judge yourself and find flaws and just think about how you could look better, it doesn't lead anywhere. It doesn't lead anywhere good. You might be able to improve yourself a little bit at first, you know, if you wear deodorant and wash your hair and just maintain basic bodily hygiene and perhaps do just the basic minimums, you can improve your image a lot. But when you keep going and you keep analyzing and you just keep finding more things to hate, it's a diminishing return, and it causes this kind of mental anguish that is just completely unnecessary. And I know I haven't experienced the worst of it, but for a lot of people it can be the source of genuine self-hatred, and at that point it's not helping you anymore, it's hindering you, it's making your life worse, it's taking up your attention that could be spent, you know, talking to your loved ones, or, you know, trying to improve your personality or your intellect, or trying to improve your life, you know, cleaning up your house. And I think on the other side of that, you can get an overindulgence that results in narcissism, where somebody is obsessed with their appearance, but in a more positive way almost, although I wouldn't say that it's positive. There's something about it that just seems shallow. I mean, that's what it's called, right? When you're obsessed with superficial beauty. And I know I shouldn't be so judgmental of other people, and I try not to be, but I feel like being obsessed with your own physical beauty is probably not something that will end very well for you. Nobody remains beautiful and young forever, and though I don't think middle-aged and old people are ugly exactly, there's just no way of retaining that level of attractiveness for your entire life. So at some point in your life you're going to have to come to the terms with the fact that you're no longer young and attractive, and it's just a disaster. So even the narcissism is kind of like the other side of the coin to the self-hatred. I think they're two parts of the same thing, but I don't really have any suggestions. I can't really just say, oh, well, you're beautiful, don't care about your appearance so much, right? Yeah, it's very easy for me to say that an overindulgence is a bad thing, but there's not much that somebody can do to stop themselves feeling bad about their own appearance. If a lot of other people I've seen talk about this online are using it as a criticism of capitalism to say that it's companies and, you know, magazines and makeup companies and Hollywood and TV shows, they're all abusing the people who are watching them into having this outrageously high standard for themselves. But I think ultimately it comes from within, that judgment, the unrealistically high standard that the advertisements and the movies and the magazines set are just, they're not bad in and of themselves. Somebody who feels good about their own appearance won't be affected by something like that. It's only people who have this self-judgment problem already who will be affected by that. I don't think that what these industries are doing is particularly good, but I don't think that we can blame them either. They're just trying to supply a demand that people have for this kind of product, and it's not really their place to say whether it's good or bad for that person. So in the end, I don't really know what I wanted to say in this video, except that perhaps I wanted to see a criticism of this beauty culture that didn't come from a place of anti-capitalist rhetoric. As always, please let me know if you have any thoughts on this subject. I'll be reading all the comments that you leave in the comment section. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon.